Well, it has been an interesting day so far, and it can only get better. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Vikas Khemani, founder Carnelian Capital Advisors LLP, a veteran of capital markets. Mr. Khemani was previously associated with Edelweiss as the head of wholesale capital markets. He regularly contributes articles on capital markets and speaks in various forums. The topic for today is investing opportunities post COVID world. Also, Vikas, we would like to know your thoughts on macro impact shared by Financial Minister's speech. Over to you, Vikas.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Johar. It is lovely to be back and interacting with you guys. Um, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time out. I hope everybody is fine and the families are fine. So, and it's always a great opportunity to interact with all of you. Now, obviously, all of us have been hearing a lot about Corona, its impact, and what it holds for us economically, health-wise, what all it means. I think one of the first of all, we thought we will take a little bit different approach in this communication. Everybody is talking about right now, pain, crisis, losses. I think most of the time you hear, uh, you know, mostly negative stuff, fear kind of environment all around us. Whether we hear any expert in media or we expert, lots of WhatsApp messages go around, and I think that has kind of made all of us very, very, fearful, panicking, and that's what at least I gather from the interaction with people. So we said, let us take an step back and see, is there anything beyond fear? Is there anything beyond panic? What is it that once the dust settles down, what does it mean for all of us? It will be very important because I think when we are gripped by fear and panic, we cannot make or we tend to make irrational decisions. We cannot make rational decisions. And investing, and when we're dealing with our own hard-earned money, investing, I think it is all about making rational decisions. It's all about making, considered decisions, right? So, uh, of course, there's no doubt on the fact that this crisis is, humanity is facing first time. It has never happened that uh, a world has shut down in a coordinated manner at the same time ever. Even in Spanish flu time, it was restricted to certain parts of the world. It never sort of spread all over the world, where major economies of the world shut down. Also, it is also, it was never the case that uh, uh, world economies were so integrated. I mean, in today's time and age, the entire globe is so interconnected, intertwined in a very complex manner. One aspect of one country impacts multiple parts of global economy. So to that extent, this crisis has made it a lot more complex than what we have ever seen it before. And that's the reason when we are seeing, one is the obvious impact of the crisis, but also second is the second order or third order impact of the crisis. Like we saw, oil prices going negative is a second order, third order impact of this crisis. Can anyone ever imagine in in anybody's dream that precious commodity like energy and oil can trade negative, right? But it also happened. Right? So I think when you get into this kind of crisis in a very intertwined, interlinked, complex world, the impacts are far reaching. Impacts are very, very sort of complex and difficult to sort of understand. And there are two parts of this crisis. One is the health crisis. Second is the economic crisis. I believe that health crisis we have probably seen, peak of it. It is slowly going to, sort of come down. More or less, we have to get used to sort of deal with this for a long period of time. There are lots of viruses in the world before there has been. Today also there has been. This also will remain. I think like yesterday, even Prime Minister said that we will have to live with. We'll have to live with caution. We'll have to sort of so world will be adapting to new ways of doing business or new ways of living new with the virus, and we will have to handle with the protection, with the prevention. with utmost care. And I think that is given. Of course, that will open up lots of opportunities, and I will talk about those later in little bit. But I think clearly. So health crisis more or less seems to be behind. There are lots of mind which are working in finding vaccines. Lots of organizations, government and non-governmental companies are working to find vaccine, working to find right solutions for this. And I am reasonably hopeful that in next 6 to 12 months time we will have some vaccine. And till then, I think we will have to sort of live with a bit of a precaution, with a bit of a prevention and care to avoid the spread. It might happen that in some parts of the world, including India, it might resurface in some parts of the country, and again you might see limited lockdown. But I don't think we will see mass scale lockdown at the country level. So let us say for some reason in a particular city, spread starts happening, you will see local authorities of that city will come down and probably lock down that particular city. But that will not be nationwide. So I think that is the new normal. That is the new sort of situation which is going to come about. Second, when coming to the economic side, I think we have already seen a massive destruction of wealth, massive losses across businesses in capital markets, of course, but even in private businesses there have been massive losses. To give you some size and the sense of what has happened, world GDP is about $90 trillion. Just imagine, do simple math that if anybody is shut for 2 months, which is 1/6 of the year, okay, which is what has happened practically once, almost 1/6 of the year has been shut down. Uh, so a lot of productivity loss happens, right? So even if I take, 1/6 of $90 billion, it comes to $15 trillion. Even if I take, let's say, assuming that everything is not fully shut, still things are operational. Even if I take 50-60%, the losses are between 10 to $12 trillion, and the cost of restarting is always very high. So I think all those things, in my opinion, are very, very big number. Coming back home to India, at a $2.5 trillion GDP, same number can be anywhere between 350 to $400 billion. Now that's a very large loss, economic loss for a country of our size. But whenever this kind of things happen, of course, this is done. This is done and dusted. It has happened. It is already factored in. So there's no point in focusing on what has happened. Of course, we have to see what is going to be the implications. A lot of implications have already been factored in. A lot of implications have been factored in the prices. A lot of implications have been factored in the business models. Most businesses have started adjusting. You will see some more implications coming out as the world opens up. You will see some more uh, second order, third order impact playing out as world opens up. But the good news is, as I said, I will throughout the conversation focus more on the good news and opportunity rather than only talking about the panic or fear. That does not mean that we don't recognize the risk, we ignore the risks. But where we are focusing more is the going to be the theme of the conversation. So, the good news is that, every world over, governments and central banks are coming and providing huge amount of liquidity to the businesses, to the even smaller countries. So, we have seen US doing close to $2 trillion package. Again, one other two is being planned. You have seen Japan doing, we have seen UK doing, we have seen Germany doing. We've seen China doing. We saw India yesterday. Prime Minister announced almost close to 10% of GDP. So whenever this kind of response happens, you know, uh, it never happens that crisis further deepens. Crisis typically happens when everybody is caught unaware. Everybody is caught unaware. Suddenly things happen. When everybody is trying to repair, everybody is trying to make it happen. Only thing which can be is it can sort of get repaired from there. It might happen slowly. It might take time. It might be a little gradual than what we expect. Fall open always happens very sharply. Recovery always happens very, very, very slowly. That is the nature of human being. That is the nature of market. That is the nature of everything, and we have seen that before also. So I think I think that as everybody is coming around and pumping liquidity in the system, providing support, the 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 the, the velocity or the coming back to the normalcy will be also on a relative basis quicker. I'll give you an historical example, and you so that that gives you some perspective. from global financial crisis. 2008, when the crisis happened, everybody got caught off guard. Suddenly markets got sold off across the board. Everybody was staring in some sense. Lots of companies, and especially in banking and financial services, were staring in at bankruptcies. That time there was a lot of run on the bank. If you see, we had run on ICICI Bank that point in time, right? So a lot of similar crisis was there that point in time. What happened that time again? US, India, all countries came together and announced significant stimulus, both fiscal as well as the monetary. So what happens is that, once that starts happening, they announce and they start implementing. I remember the crisis had happened somewhere in September. It lasted, most of the announcement happened middle of the October, or towards the end of the October and in November. And market kind of started stabilizing. And January 2009, Satyam fiasco had happened again. It created one more, and I would call that a second order effect that happened, and market again kind of went into a bit of a topsy turvy for another 1 month. But markets bottomed out in March 2009. Now that time, let me just narrate you the scenario. What was, and including I'm talking about for experts, and a lot of opinion makers, smart people. In March 2009, anybody believed that markets will come back in a hurry. Market will deliver any return. There was no conviction. There was no data point which supported that which was visible to them, or all, and most people. I'm talking about the collective psychology of the market, that markets will come back, markets will recover, markets will sort of do well. And that was also reflected in, on average, cash levels in a mutual fund at 25%. Now, generally, mutual fund never keeps cash. Generally, mutual funds remain invested to most of the time, and only 2 to 5% of the cash is kept just to meet the redemption and liquidity needs. Otherwise, most mutual funds won't keep any amount of cash. But that point in time, most of the mutual fund held 25% cash level. Mutual funds can't go short. So that clearly showed that the lack of conviction which people had. And also most of the people had their holding in defensive. So whatever 75% they were invested, they were extremely safe and defensive stocks. Now, from March onwards, I can take you forward that what happens. April, May starts, market starts going up slowly. Everybody in a denial mode. Nobody kind of, believes that everybody says, oh, this is not a, sustainable rally. It will come down. It will start correcting, and market keeps going one way up to the point that October 2010, which is only 1.5 years from the bottoming out of the market, or 2 years from the point of the crisis. So in March, the Nifty levels was 2,600. And I think at the bottom of the crisis also, the Nifty level was something around 2,000. I don't exactly remember what bottom it is, but 2,400 or 2,300 levels, right? So from there, if you take, can you imagine or can you believe, in hindsight, we end up sort of forgetting that in 1.5 years time from the bottoming out, or 2 years time from the peak of the crisis, Nifty was 6,000. So it was almost 2.5 times return in a period of 1.5 years, when nobody could see what will change, what will drive the return, what will sort of give returns. Most mutual funds towards the end of the 2009, when they said this is not going, and they started underperforming, they kind of ended up doing panic buying. What I call is panic buying. Everybody had to start deploying their cash levels, because if you don't deploy, you will keep on underperforming, and mutual funds cannot underperform for long. So this was this nature of the sort of recovery. So at the peak of the crisis, nobody can see what will change, but we all know that no crisis can ever last forever. It will change. It has to change, and I'm very, very confident that this will also change. And the fact that everybody around the globe is trying to revive the economy, is trying to sort of provide all kinds of support, it will recover sooner than most people expect, according to me. And hence, it is important to keep that perspective in mind. Of course, there will be a lot of noise. There are right now a lot of noise. There will be a lot more noise going forward also. So noise level always, and especially in the times of when the social media is so sort of prevalent, that all of us wake up in the morning reading practically same message many times. Most of them are even fake. So, most of them are, determined by some agendas. So I think we end up, hearing a lot of noise. And when the noise is, bombarding our minds, we end up seeing a lot more things which are, fearful, which are probably not, sometimes they are far from the fact. So, the way we are seeing is that we think that, over next 3 to 6 months, all those measures which are being taken, just like had happened in GFC, or in 2001 for that matter. And if I were to take you back in 2001, post 2001 crisis, US had again started both fiscal and monetary stimulus, and there was a huge liquidity rush towards emerging market. And we saw a mother of all bull market between 2003 to 2007. For a 4 year period, we saw a huge amount of run, and almost Nifty, I think, went about 6-7x in that period. So I think, liquidity is what always drives the market down. Liquidity is always what takes market up. Now, today, very often one can ask this question, or one can wonder that in US, when the death numbers are going up every single day, why markets are holding on. The only simple reason is there is no panic for anybody to sell, because there is enough liquidity in hands of everyone, including businesses, including funds. So nobody is in a rush to withdraw money, even if things are going to. So markets are right now saying that we will overlook next 6 to 8 months of, or 9 months of panic. Most of it is anyway factored into the price. We will overcome that, and things will come back the moment, I think, the economy starts functioning normally. And there's no marks for guessing that it will function normally. It has never happened that entire humanity is fighting and things won't come back. So our view is that from now, next to, you know, uh, 6, 8, 9 months of pain might be there, which I think a lot of it is factored in. Post that, you will start seeing a very, very sort of, smart recovery in market. In fact, I will assign a very high probability, or a reasonably high probability, 2021 being one of the, in last many years, one of the best year in terms of returns. Because, the impact of whatever is happening right now will take 3 to 6 months for, to percolate down at the real economic level. So, this is what, our current thought process is. And I think, so my whole, submission request to everyone is that don't get colored by the noise, don't get colored by the a lot of negativity which is being spread. Be unemotional, be objective, and more importantly, be long term. Very often, the question might be coming to everybody's mind, that is there many questions which come. One of the questions is there more downside left? I mean, the real answer is I don't know. Frankly speaking, for all tomorrow market might go down for 10%, because short term nobody knows. When again, 2008 example, if I were to give you, market recovered from September lows in January, and then September happened again, it came back. So it went to, I think, if I remember correctly, around 3,200, 3,300 of Nifty, and then went back to again 2,600. So because of second order, third order effect, can it again go down? Answer is yes. Nobody can predict. So that is a a real predicament. So but if you take a 3, 4 year, 5 year view, will it give a smart return? Answer is very much yes. Uh, Again, very often you ask, is it the right time to invest? My again point is that I don't know from a short term point of view, but if you were to look at from a long term point of view, I think it's the best time, one of the best time to invest. If you can overlook what happens over the next 3 to 6 months. Crises are one of the best time to invest in any business, in markets. I mean, that is proven time and again. You can look at from any crisis. You can look at 92 crisis. You can look at 2001 crisis. You can look at 1987 crisis of US. You can look at any crisis across the globe anywhere. We 2008 crisis. We saw some more crisis in 2013. When Indian economy was considered as a fragile five, and we had huge amount of pressure. So you can look at any crisis. Eventually, post crisis, in fact, economies come out much better. Good news is that I think India has a great. I don't believe that India has a great potential. And I don't believe most of the naysayers who say this won't happen, that won't happen. I think sheer fact that we are youngest population, in this country, we will keep going. In fact, one of the lifetime opportunity which is coming for India post Corona crisis is a lot of manufacturing will shift from China to India. A lot of self-reliance will happen on India, like Prime Minister was saying also. So manufacturing activity in India will pick up. That will provide jobs. That will reduce import pressure. So lots of, I think, positivity will come out of this crisis. Of course, we'll have to see how government deals with a lot of things. Currently, from the intent of the government, the way they have announced labor reform, they have announced liquidity reforms. They are promising to take care of, make the investment easier in the country. Today, FM announced a lot more sort of support to MSMEs. They announced how they can kind of sort of focus on local manufacturing. So I think a lot of announcements are being made, and I think probably this could be our second phase of reform, where India can become a manufacturing hub for the world. Of course, it's too early to say anything, so you can't really say that this is going to happen, because things don't happen just by announcements. Things happen by real execution. So we'll have to wait and watch and see. But point is, right now intent is there. So when intent is there, and India has a very strong local market. Even if we don't export, if we can start manufacturing what is needed for India's consumption, that itself is a very good start point, according to me, because then we will itself save lots of foreign exchange, which we are right now sort of dependent upon. So I think there's a very good opportunity in front of India. India market is very strong. India is again one of the very few markets where we have both investment and consumption opportunity. Government's intent is there to invest, and right now, because of this crisis, government's hand also will be free to push through a lot of things which they otherwise could not have pushed. So I think, in my opinion, there's no point in betting against India. You should bet on India. India has delivered over a period of time, despite all the chaos, despite all the sort of situations. We have a different kind of government, different kind of noises, but still we have delivered. So I believe that India will do very well. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, what are some of the bigger themes as will evolve going forward? What is the new life post-corona world? So I think one thing is very clear, that a lot of things will not be same the way we are doing. So the technological reliance will change or increase significantly. I think we all have to reimagine things in a different way. And once human being habits are formed, they don't get. So we consume more data, we consume more uh, uh, you know sort of technology in different forms, including what we are doing is also new form of interaction. I don't think earlier it was so sort of common to do that. Today it is becoming very common. So I think this way things will change drastically over. So technological reliance will become real, and it will only accentuate from here. Uh, Secondly, I think another big thing will happen out of, I think unorganized to organized will become again a big trend. Bigger will become bigger out of this crisis, because in this crisis, only businesses, companies whose balance sheets are very strong will be able to come back very fast and capture the opportunity. Businesses or companies whose balance sheets are very weak may not be able to sort of gain market share. In fact, they will give away market share to some other stronger players. So I think stronger players will do very well. They will gain market share. They will do very well. Uh, so bigger will become bigger, and hence it is always good to remain invested into the market leader of any industry, and obviously with a good balance sheet size. Secondly, I think even some of the sectors which were otherwise not doing well, while their core demand is there, core demand will be there, like automobiles kind of sector, they will come back very strongly. Like we had a sort of almost a trend that shared economy will do well, hence automobile demand went down and all, and a lot of stocks got derated. I feel those things will come back. I'll again give an example of in 2008 crisis, when the Nifty became from 2,600 to 6,000, which is almost 2.28 times, right? Auto index became almost from 1 to 3.5 times. Metal index went from 1 to 3.5 times. Real estate index went from 1 to 3.5 times. So this is the kind of some of the sectors which were beaten down, but they have core need in the economy. The negative leverage was playing there. Now the positive leverage is there. So all those sectors, according to me, will do very well because the real asset, real businesses will have to sustain, because all of us human beings will consume. While new trends will come, but some of those real core industries will come back, especially in view of a lot of self-reliance, kind of setup. So I think, I believe that lots of opportunities we see lots of opportunities, and I'll give you a classic example. Today, most of the or a lot of businesses are trading at half time book, 0.3 time book. What does it mean? That you took, if you spend 100 rupees of equity and let's say 200 rupees of debt, so you put up a project at a 300 rupees cost, right? Today, the equity value which you spend 100 rupees is available at 0.3 or 0.4, so half the value. So one is putting up capacity is becoming difficult. Secondly, you are getting half the price of because of this temporary situation in the market. Now, if you are able to capture some of this, going forward, when things come back, they won't be able to. Today, if you were to sell those companies, nobody will sell that. Those promoters will not sell those companies at half the price, but you are able to buy that at half the price, right? So you have that unique opportunity to buy that company at half the price. Now, so that sale is going on right now, right? So if you can overlook and just sort of manage emotions and see the opportunity partly from the historical perspective, partly from a commonsensical perspective, that steel will be sold in this country, automobiles will be sold in this country. Are people not going to buy cars? It is not, it is hard to believe people will buy cars, people will buy bikes, right? People will need cement, so all those things will happen. It's just that right now everybody is frozen, hence people think, oh, nothing will happen. So I feel things will be sort of much positive from here, and so there is a great. I am more looking things from where as an opportunity rather than the crisis. Having said that, I am not saying that it is risk-free environment. There is no risk, so one should go all in all. I would say that second order, third order effect will always be very hard to predict, very difficult to fathom, and hence one should take a sort of systemic investment approach. I would strongly advise investors to sort of or people to invest over the next 6 to 8 months in a systemic manner. In fact, we recently we are planning, and we will probably launch in a week's time or so, that we are in our AIF, that we are saying, can people do, earlier we were taking 1 crore rupees upfront. We are saying now, can you do 10 lakhs rupees over 10 months period? And I think that kind of product we've designed. The reason being that we want to give opportunity to investors so that they can come into the fund in a systemic manner, so that their risks are also managed. At the same time, they don't miss out the opportunity. So because I can tell you, no matter how smart anybody is, no matter how intelligent somebody sounds, nobody can say that this is the right time to deploy money in the capital markets, because a lot of factors at work. Short-term volatility can be very sort of high, which has been and which might continue to remain. But once the dust settles down, I think things will be sort of very well. So I think these are probably some of the comments and remarks I can make. I am very happy to sort of, if there are any questions, because I think we are just left about 15 minutes. So probably I'll keep some time for questions so that I'm not going of my own and to address some of the queries or concerns or questions some of you might have.
Thank you so much, Vikas. In midst of so much panic, I guess this session was really very insightful and bring some respite to in our lives. I will now open the floor for question and answers. So Vikas, we have list of interesting questions for you. The first one is, mutual funds are giving negative returns. Gold prices have touched rooftop. What should be the probable avenues to invest?
So I think, two things. First of all, if you look at it at a wrong point in time, you will see the returns, right? If you see bottom of the market, or if you see in the middle of the crisis, no matter when you invested, obviously you will see negative return. So don't, look at your investment only from the point of view, oh, I have a negative return. So what should I do? Of course, if you are invested into a wrong stock or a wrong fund, you can do a switch. So I would strongly advise not to sort of reduce your exposure towards equity. Rather, I would say increase in a systematic manner. So, but don't get panicked by seeing negative return in SIP. I understand that it is hard-earned money and it is very painful to see negative return. But please understand, if you saw the same returns at the beginning of 2018, you would have felt very smart. Today, you must be feeling very stupid. Oh, why did I not redeem? When markets are going down, all those questions comes to everybody's mind. Trust me on that. So, don't overkill yourself. Just say that, if I am invested into wrong stock or a wrong mutual fund, then I will switch, or but don't decrease your exposure towards equities. Secondly, coming to gold, I feel when the world over governments are going to print so much money, you know, uh, one thing is reasonably sure that gold prices are likely to do well. So some amount of allocation you should have towards gold. It could be in gold bond funds, gold bonds with government of India comes out where you get 2.5% interest. It could be in gold ETFs. It could be physical gold, depending on what your approach is. But I think gold bond investment looks to be decent according to me, where you earn some interest also, and you just it's easy to manage and hold. So, but I would assume that one should have some amount of exposures towards gold.
Great, because I guess that answers quite many questions that have actually come in, all regarding mutual funds. So the next question is, given that US and certain parts of Europe have opened up for trade, how will it impact Indian economy?
No, I think, as I was telling, that it is a great opportunity for India. Today everybody is looking India with a hope, and I was talking to some people within the government. There are many government requests. I mean, government level, government to government request for to India from USA government to many other governments to sort of facilitate or make it quick, so that companies can come and set up here, massive scales. And if you see from their actions, Karnataka government recently came out with a plan where you can convert farmland into industrial land quickly within 30 days time. MP has announced some labor reforms. UP is working on a very aggressive, fairly large area where it can be set up as an industrial park. So, lots of actions are being taken in terms of attracting manufacturing base in India. And I think it will happen. It's a matter of time. If you see government's action, it is quite visible. Also, if you see pharma sector, which was last 4 or 5 years, was facing a lot of problems from US FDA side. A lot of inquiries, rejections, letters were coming, and because of that, they were suffering. In last 3 to 4 months, after, especially in last 2 3 months, rather I would say, suddenly a lot of inquiries have got shut. They have become a lot more relaxed. They're allowing, more, lot more. They're asking for a lot more medicines. So this is an opportunity for Indian company, right? So and that shows from their action that suddenly earlier they were not clearing pending inquiries for 6, 6, 12, 12 to 2 years in fact in some cases. Now they are clearing it like less than months time. What does it mean? It means that they are also wanting to further business with India, want to diversify, and that's where I think our good relationship with most of the countries comes in handy. So I remain quite optimistic.
Right. I think in continuation to that, there is one of our gentlemen from the audience wants to know that what would be your insights on the way forward for India in the global scheme of things?
So as I said, that I think India stands to benefit in global scheme of things. There's a very good chance that India can increase its share of trade in the global world, in the global trade, and prosperity of any country depends on how much share it has in the global trade. I mean, there was a time when India had 35% share in the global trade, which came down to 2% at the time of independence. And those days we used to be called Sone ki Chidiya. So, and today China is the reason why China is very powerful, that they have almost a quarter of the world trade in their favor. So I think this is a great opportunity for India to tilt world of its share of world trade in its favor. Now, whether we do it or not, I think it will all obviously depend on the it will depend on the lot of future actions. I'm quite hopeful. So, and I think also what proposition we have taken in this crisis, also we have helped a lot of nations getting medicines of our own. So I think the mature approach which India has taken, I think will help it, and a little bit of isolation of China, though I don't think China can be isolated because they're so powerful, but little bit of isolation of China can help tilt many things in favor of India at the margin. And when things start working for you, I think then Indian entrepreneurship is good enough to kind of take it forward in a big way, because Indian entrepreneurs just need little bit of support. They don't need they just need handholding. They don't need that things have to be clear for them. Then they will figure out how to do. It's like this IT. We have created such a large IT industry. It was just demand was there. There was a little bit of opening there. I think people went and built it. So that's how I think India will do well.
Very well. I think you've already touched upon how you have to balance your portfolio. You have to be sure, you have to ask the right question if the fund is right or wrong. There is somebody who really willing to know as a beginner that what are those things, what would be those instruments where he could invest during these times.
So the question is about what instrument?
As a beginner, what are
Mhm.
those instruments a person should need to focus during these times?
So I think it is again, it's about allocation of between different asset classes: equity, debt, and gold, and real estate. I think there are only broadly four asset classes where typically people invest, and I think having the right asset allocation based on the investment objective of any person, one should look at that. So, and if you're a beginner, if you want to direct deal in the equity, then you have to do a lot of work, understand before investing into any company. Otherwise, you can start doing with mutual fund in a in a slow manner. Those are the instruments you should work with.
All right. There is a sector-specific question. One of our audience would want to know that the two sectors, insurance and banking, how would they perform, and what are your thoughts about power and infra?
So I think bank within banking there are two aspects. Banking credit oriented and BFSI non-credit. So in banking credit oriented, we might see still some challenge for some more time for a simple reason. They will be facing they are leveraged players. So I think they borrow money and they lend money, and if asset quality is under question, they end up suffering from the sort of NPA issue for in the shorter term. So I think banking credit might be a little bit of a challenge, but banking non-credit like AMC, insurance company, life insurance, general insurance, all of them will do very well. They will in fact come out very well, in my opinion, over next and next probably uh, uh, a BFSI run could be led by them because they are good balance sheet, good cash flows, fee-oriented business. They will do reasonably well according to me.
Great. So I guess basis the new norms and everything that our finance minister spoke today, there's a question that has come in that what will be the impact of 20 lakh crore package on the Indian economy? Will it have impact on our fiscal?
So I think fiscal is right now not a worry. To be very frank, fiscal anyway. You see, unless you restart the economy, fiscal will anyway be constrained because if the economy does not start, your tax collections will go away because tax collection is on the activity, and so unless you fix economy, you will anyway have a big problem. So there is no choice right now for government to do this. Uh, More importantly, right now, more than fiscal, I think a lot of monetary support is required. So what government has done to provide liquidity to MSMEs is a very big support because MSMEs are right now needing money to restart the business. If the lockdown opens up, they need money to restart business. If there is no money, how they restart the business? So I think that's a very critical aspect of now I always believe that announcements are announcements. Devil lies in detail. We have seen announcements in the past also being done, like government came out with real estate fund some time ago and said this invest will provide money to real stuck up projects, but fact of the matter, the execution was so bad that hardly any projects saw money, and hence that had no impact. So I always believe that we will watch, as an investor, that how they are executing, whether the money is really reaching to the, businesses or not. If they don't reach, then we will have a little elongated kind of recovery. If the money reaches quickly to the businesses, then I think we can have a little quicker recovery. So we believe that we will have to see. Announcements are always they look good, but more than announcement, I mean we will watch for execution. So today market might remain buoyant for next 2 3 days, but I'm reasonably sure that once the dust settles down of the positivity, also market will correct. Not because these measures are not sort of good, but after announcement, people need to see the real impact, or the business will be run based on a day-to-day basis, not on announcements. So if I get announcement that money will come and the money has not come, then it does not help. So I think to that extent, we will wait and watch. These are all good announcements. I must say that they are all progressive. The intent seems to be very clear, but between intent and delivery, there's always a gap. and we have seen that gap appearing in the past in many instances, and hence we are right now not as sort of convinced saying that this will really happen. And we will wait. What I mean, this still might happen. I'm not saying this will not happen, but we will watch on a regular basis what kind of steps are being done in implementation and execution.
Very well answered, Vikas. So the bottom line is to wait and watch. I will take up the next question is where do you see India 10 years from now, given the fact that India being preferred manufacturing hub in terms of low labor cost?
So I can say that we have a great opportunity. 2001 to 2010 belonged to emerging market, and India also did very very well in that. 2010 to 20, I think India struggled, and all emerging markets struggled. This could be very well a decade of emerging markets and India in particular, because India is one of the rare opportunity across the globe, which has a balance of market, investment opportunity. It has export of capabilities. So it's one of the rare opportunity right now world is seeing. Of course, as I said, the things lie in execution. So from a probability perspective, very high. India will surely again go to $5 trillion economy. Whether it will happen in 25, 26, 27, that is only a matter of question, because what I'm talking is only mathematics. But let me give you one data point so that you know. So let us say today we are at $2.5 trillion GDP. Our market cap is roughly about $2 trillion. So we are roughly around 0.7, 0.8 market cap to GDP ratio. In a longer cycle of 10 years, the market cap to GDP ratio hovers between 0.5 to 1.5 times. So, and if our GDP, let us say, is going to touch 5 trillion sometime in next one decade, again, I'm just saying sometime, though I believe that it can happen in 25, 26 only, but sometime, let us say it touches $5 trillion, our market cap could be anywhere between, even if I take a ratio of 1 to 1.5, depending on the cycle, and I'm assuming entire decade will not have bear market, we'll have some good market. So if it touches 1 to 1.5 times, we have an opportunity to the market cap will be 5 to 7 trillion dollars. So imagine from 2 to 5, so we will have absolute value of 3 to 5 trillion dollar of wealth getting created in the same period over next 5-7 years. Now it's by the way very very large amount of money by any country standard. Now if this kind of wealth is going to get created, this is going to get distributed within Indians. I mean, of course, outside also, but I'm saying so. India has a great opportunity to sort of, that's when I believe the wealth creation, the best is, right now coming. Best time of wealth creation is coming. So, reason why I am constantly insisting on hammering down that don't remain negative, don't remain fearful, don't remain worried. Remain optimist, remain positive, because the best is yet to come.
That was really insightful, Vikas. We have the last question for you now. Could you mention what has been your major learning in COVID-19?
So I think my biggest learning. I think the most of the time when you are leveraged, if you get into a crisis, most of the people who have got into the problem is the people who are leveraged. If you are not leveraged, or if you're not leveraged at all, or if you're leveraged, or if you are leveraged beyond your capacity, you will end up sort of paying a price for that. So manage your leverage and risk very very carefully. Asset allocation is a very very important thing. No matter how exciting equity as an opportunity looks at, but you always should have a balanced asset allocation where, even if let's say equity gives you 25% return, still you should have a balanced exposure, because risk always comes from unexpected quarters. Risk always comes from, in bigger than you can ever think. So hence, while one should be keeping an eye on opportunities, there's no doubt on that. But another eye should always be on the risk, irrespective of how successful you are, how much money you are making, and how much. I mean, that's my biggest learning of this crisis.
Thank you so much, Vikas. It was an immense pleasure to have you on board on our platform. Your thoughts and insights have on ideal portfolio was extremely useful. I'm sure that our audience found your expertise of significant value. They will gain from this experience. Would you want to share some few last words before we wind up this webinar?
No, thank you very much, for having me. Thank you all of you. It's always like coming back to family. So, thank you very much for. I hope I have added some value to you guys, and very always happy to sort of interact further. Or if there are any more questions, you can send. We will answer. My only final word, like I was saying probably throughout the conversation, remain positive, remain sort of objective. Of course, remain healthy and be careful. Take care of your health, because the health risk has not gone away. It is, it is probably going to be a little bit more riskier as things open up. So manage that part very well. Manage risk, but best is yet to come. So be positive and be optimistic.
So thanks, Vikas, for all the positivity that you've given us. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to have you join us back on the 15th of May for our next webinar. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and stay calm.